Hi everybody, and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront opinion this afternoon. Now, I haven't really been doing a lot of politics lately. I've had a bit more going on in my private life, so I'm going to try and put a brave face on at the moment. Okay, so, obviously, end of last week, Conservatives had a bad end of the week in the local elections, or what local elections happened. I know we never had any down here in Leon-Solent, but a lot of people are calling for Kemi's head, saying because they were so bad, Kemi Badenoch should step down as leader of the Conservative Party. Okay, fair enough. I can understand people doing that, but they also knew they were going to do badly, and Labour knew they were going to do badly. There was no secret in there. It was just a question of how bad were they going to do. Now, the argument is she correct that she shouldn't step down as leader? Because that's what she said when she got interviewed on Sunday. But let's not overreact. Let's regroup. Let's resolve this and sort this out. So is she right? Now, in my opinion, one thing I will say is I'm not a Kemi Badenoch fan. I am a lifelong Conservative voter, but I'm not a member of the Kemi Badenoch fan club, and I'm not about to pretend that I am. So, first thing I'll say is I personally believe she shouldn't step down, because the reality is I was not surprised that Labour did badly, and I wasn't surprised the Conservatives did badly. And this is the fundamental reason. Since Labour came into power, they have done a stinking bad job as a new government. I mean, really bad. You could not make worse decisions. To be honest, nobody could. My 9-year-old son could have probably made wiser and smarter decisions than Keir Starmer and the rest of his team have made. And then you look at the Conservatives that were in power for what, 14 years? And if you look at their stewardship over them 14 years, did they do a good job? And I would suggest no. I would suggest they did a lousy job. And a lot of the problem boils down to the end of the David Cameron days, going all that way back. Because the biggest mistake David Cameron ever made was promising a vote to leave the EU. That was his biggest mistake he ever made. But forget about the alleged austerity that he did, which he never really did austerity. Yeah, he cut back massively, but he didn't do austerity when you consider what Canada went through in places like that. He never did it. Okay, the big fall from grace was offering a vote to leave the EU. Now, I can't really complain too much because I voted for Brexit. Would I vote for Brexit if we had the vote again today? I'm not entirely sure about that. I'd need some convincing. So that's one thing they handled badly. Second of all, him walking away when he said he was going to stay, even if he lost the vote. Mistake number 2. Mistake number 3, putting somebody in charge who didn't even want Brexit and had no real interest in doing it in Theresa May. Now, I always liked Theresa May. I remember the first time I ever saw her on Question Time. Thought she'd make a fantastic leader of the Conservative parties, or the Conservative Party. Messed it up because she had to deal with the mess of Brexit. Then comes number 4 mistake. Put in, and I've got no room to talk about this because I did vote for him to become leader. Yes, the blonde muppet. Okay, putting him in charge. Did he deliver Brexit? No, he didn't. He can say it into his blue in the face. He did not deliver Brexit. He brought a ridiculous amount of sleaze into Downing Street. He ended up having to be forced out of the party. Even worse than Margaret Thatcher had. Let's not get it wrong. Okay. Handled COVID awfully bad. And then I would argue the only one with a bit of saving grace was Rishi Sunak. Now, I appreciate a lot of people aren't going to like Rishi Sunak, but he did pretty much deliver what he promised he was going to do, bring down inflation, all these types of things, and he did deliver on that to a degree. So he's the only one, but actually, if you actually look over the 14 years, as anything to maybe be slightly proud of, because the rest of them stank the place out. And you wonder how any party could do a worse job than them. So is it a surprise that they've done so badly? No, it's not. And they could end up suffering for a long time. So the reality is, you would expect either the Liberal Democrats to do well, which they did. They picked up seats at the elections. And you would expect reform, the outside parties, as a programme I watched not long ago said when I was watching a programme about Hitler's inner circle, said fringe parties always do well when something's going wrong. And they got nothing in common with Hitler or anything, or the Nazi party, but they're fringe parties. And what has done, why did they do well? Because the main parties have stunk the place out for over a decade, and people are right royally pissed off with them. No different to in America, where people were fed up with the career politicians, whether they're representing the Democrats or the Republicans. It's exactly the same thing. So what do they go and do? They go and vote for Donald Trump. And Nigel Farage is a lot like Donald Trump in a lot of ways. He's very good at clinging onto an idea, okay, and being able to run with it and getting people behind him. Like he says, change. People are fed up of immigration as another one. Okay, another one that Donald Trump talks about. And Nigel Farage has been talking about it for years. Okay, and the reality is, this is why they've done badly. So it gives the Conservatives time for reflection, to sort their house out, and then come back stronger. Because in my book, I don't think, and I could be proven wrong, and I hope Nigel Farage can prove me wrong, that he's going to be the answer in the long term. But this is going to be the defining moment for Kemi Badenoch, because she needs to be able to prove that she is worthy of being a leader, and she's not going to be like when the Conservatives left office under Mayor. Okay, but she's going to be able to do a good job, get them together, and potentially, I'm not saying she will, but potentially win the next election. Because, to be honest, she can't do much worse than she currently is. And if she can take on Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage, which isn't difficult. Keir Starmer is not a difficult person to take on, and Nigel Farage has never really been challenged. If you actually look at the history books, he doesn't really get challenged, and it's not really difficult to challenge Nigel Farage, because as far as I've seen, he's not really come up with any solution for immigration. Because what's he said this weekend? We're going to challenge the government to make sure that there's no more immigration hotels where they're running the councils. Okay, so what's your solution? It's still the same thing. If you're going to say that you're going to stop something, come up with a solution. And this was, it's no different to when Keir Starmer said, we're not going to have the Rwanda deal. What's your solution? If you're not going to have Rwanda, what is your solution to the problem? And this is what nobody's coming up with. Nobody ever comes up with a solution which is viable and possible to actually do. And this is what they need to do. Rather than all the talking, all the BS that you get from politicians and leaders of parties on a regular basis. We actually need to start hearing solutions rather than all the hot air that we're getting on a regular basis. So as much as I've said it, I do think Kemi is right. We'll see if she will be able to turn things around, because for her, I hope she is able to, and she doesn't become another Ian Duncan Smith in for one term, seen as a bit of a joke and a laughing guy, but there again, Ian Duncan Smith was going up against Tony Blair, who was a very capable politician, and time will tell. So let us know in the comments down below what you think. Do you think that she will be able to turn it around? Do you think she should step down? And if she should, who should take her place? Because to be honest, when you look at the Conservative benches, there's not a lot there. Not in the way of talent, but you can see is leaders that can hold and gel a party together. It's not like Labour. I can see loads of leaders in the Labour Party. None of them are on the front benches, mind you. They'll all be on the back benches. But Labour, there's plenty. Same problem with Reform. Don't see any leaders in there, in the entire party. So, let us know in the comments down below what you think. Obviously, please do share the video as well, as wide as you can. And obviously, if you are new to the channel, if you could please subscribe as well, I would appreciate it. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again a bit later.